What's going on, you guys? Follow along as I show you how I designed, sculpted, printed, and had help painting this guy right here, my Berserker Wolf Knight. Let's go. So this part, I took an armature that was already on ZBrush, and what I did is I created a little block out of a wolf head, put it on top of it, and now I'm spacing out the body in the proportions that I would like for him to have. This makes it a lot easier for me to build the armor and to actually make it so that I can create anything I want off this body and use it as the base for all the parts of this model. It saves me about 2 to 3 hours instead of myself having to go in and actually sculpt a new body, new armature for this model. What I'm doing right here is I'm actually building out and blocking out the armor so I know where to cut it to actually extract it from the body. So this is after I've extracted all those armor pieces I created. I would include that in the video, but it's like 10 hours, 10-15 hours of just grabbing, extruding, polymeshing, fixing it up, and making it look better. So what I did here is I'm actually now starting to design the face of the Wolf Knight. I have to change all the proportions, make it to the exact form that I want, and then make it more dog-like, because right now it kind of looks like either a dragon or a furry or something in between that. And if you notice, all the different camera views that I have is so that I can see every angle as I'm sculpting. So I continuously change the angles to build upon this little mesh so that way I can continuously get the proportions that I want. And right now what I'm doing is building out the musculature of the face underneath all the hairs on the fur. This will make it so that whenever I do all the details, I can have a basis for where I want the hair to flow. This is the body underneath the armor. What I did with that is I just want to keep it very simple, like a zombie, because I'm going off of a theme from the Dark Souls, the new Elden Ring game, and trying to make it as dark as possible. The biggest challenge I had was actually making the feet the right size for what I wanted this guy to look like, and I actually made it more dog-like than I did dragon-like or like demonic. So these feet actually got changed in the final rendition. You see they're much smaller. And this is one of my favorite parts, is actually changing the eyes and making it look like he's actually looking at something. It makes it much more menacing. This is the armor detailing. What I did here is I actually had some parts that I could find online to put onto this model. So it made it a lot easier for me to detail it out. Now I can finally go in and actually do the main detailing to the body. Here I'm doing the skull and the upper jaw, building out the muscles for that open and close the mouth, really getting some detail in it so I can see exactly how this face works and how it functions properly. Once I have that done, I can do the gums. And then finally add the teeth. The hardest part with teeth is making sure you space them right and make them the right size for your model. And then after I get that done, I go ahead and do the same thing to the jaw. The jaw is easier because once you have the upper mandibles and the upper teeth, you can actually just flip them 180 degrees and create them for the bottom. You're gonna have to put them in the right placement, but it'll be a lot easier than creating all new assets. Now I'm focusing on the ears, looking at different inspirational monsters that I saw online to get the ears the right dimensions, the size that I like. And now I'm creating the fur layout, where it's going to form, where it's going to be, and putting in the fur detail. Right now I'm actually sculpting, just using the clay brush to build up the fur. And then once I do that, I can go in and detail it. Once the detailing's done to a point where I know I can move the body, I go ahead and change the armature of the body into position for how I want it to look in the final model. After this part, I'll know how I have the position so I can build out the sword. And this is me designing the sword. This was a challenge because I wasn't sure exactly how to do it, but it worked out really well once I figured out this little mechanic of ZBrush. Really liked it, really enjoyed it. It's actually one of the more fun parts that I got to work on in this project. A lot easier than building out the armor. So this was a great break from that. And if you notice, I make it look like Guts' giant claymore. He was a huge inspiration in this. So you can see now I'm going back and detailing and changing all the forms of everything so that it's all proportionate, it looks good. And the hardest part with doing a model is knowing that when you want it to be a model that's going to be in the physical realm, you have to create everything a certain thickness, a certain way so that it actually works. Otherwise it won't stand, you'll have breakage, you'll never be able to print it on the 3D printers. It's just a horrible mess. So that's why you see me doing so many changes and constantly flipping around my model to look at things that need to be changed. Now I go into the final renders for the detailing. After I wrapped the sword's hilt, or hilt handle, whatever you call it, I went ahead and made it so it looked like it was flowing. And that was a challenge in itself to make sure that I could print. Then I go back to the cape and add all the details for the fur to make sure that it really stands out, but it also has to be able to flow on its own and stand on the model without falling. Then I go ahead and do the mane for the cape. I want to make it very aggressive and very thick and full, almost like a lion's mane. I did all the little hair details. Hair is really easy. You just take the standard brush and draw it out, then take the damn standard and actually make the lines thicker. And then you can create a tool that you actually just basically drag and pull, and that makes it so that the hairs pop up every time. This is the base. The base is very simple for me. I didn't want anything too crazy. I actually made a lot smaller once I was done, but I wanted to be on a rocky cliff overlooking a massive area. So that was a lot of fun creating this. Once I had it done, I could really see how I wanted this position and get in the stand. This is me doing the final detailing, making sure everything works, everything flows, adding some battle damage, and really just making so that the model has its own personality. And that's the most important thing, is making sure that it's not symmetrical, it's very unorthodox, and just create what you think needs to be there. When you create something, you're the only one who knows what's there and what's not there, so you're much more judgmental of your own work. Once that's done, I can finally go in and polypaint. The polypaint's very important. I used to not do this, and once I realized how important it was, I always do. This allows you to have a rough draft for what the colors and the models are going to look like. And it's super important to add little fine details so that when you render it out, it looks very realistic. At this point, I'm actually separating all the parts because I don't like seam lines. The only seam lines you can see are in his jaw and on the back of his cape, but on the legs and the arms, I made it perfectly hidden so that you can't see any of the seam lines whenever you put them all together. Even the sword is almost impossible to tell that it has a seam line there. And that's me separating and putting the model back together. This allows me to make sure everything flows, looking for any final things to be changed, and then I can render out the piece. Rendering can take a while. This render right here took me about 45 minutes just downloading it. This one right here took me about an hour to draw all the blood and really make it look nice in Photoshop. This one I went for a different look. I wanted more of a gray wolf, more of a dead look to him, and I think it came out pretty well. Now it's ready for it to be put on the 3D printing software so that I can 3D print it on my resin machine. So I'm adding all the supports to every piece, making sure that they're perfect so that when I print them, I'll have a perfect print, and it's very important. This is my PO Poly L. It's actually doing the whole model right now besides the base. This was about a 22-hour print. And this is where it got a little tricky. I accidentally hit a button and didn't realize I stopped the filming. And I came back and realized that it stopped. So it was a little irritating, but we were able to get the gist of it, most of it done. Once it was done, I was able to take it off, and this is where I actually removed the supports, check all the parts to see how it came out. And this is the first prototype, so I expected there to be issues. When I was watching it print, I actually thought there was a lot of issues, so I wasn't too excited. If you can tell in my little facial expression, I'm just looking for as many errors as I can. And I was actually blown away to find only minimal errors. Only had to make a few slight changes, so I only went through 2 prototypes on this. The body that I'm holding right now actually went through 3 prototypes. I made the armor a little too thin on the chest and had to fix it multiple times, but it came out more than better. I was really excited for it. After all those supports are removed, I throw them into the alcohol PLA 90 proof bath and my ultrasonic cleaner, and then I go ahead and turn it on, and this actually cleans all the parts. Then I'll flip them and put them back in and do it again, and then I can take them out. So this is me removing them once they've been flipped. And I actually go and look at it. And if you look right here on the sword, see how bad it came out? So that was one of the parts that had to be reprinted. Along with the arms, I had a few armors that didn't print properly. These are my other 3D printers. These ones are 4K displays, so they get very, very good details. So these are always what I print on for the final. I knew that this would be the final, the second prototype, so I went ahead and printed them on here, and they came out flawless. I was more than impressed with the details that they kept. So you can see there's another body on the right side, and on the left side is the arms. And this long piece printing right now is actually the sword reprinted. I had to add all those extra supports. And now I'm pretty excited. I get to take them out, see what they look like. And these printers look tiny. They're actually really good size. So don't think that they're small by any means. They're massive. Checking and cleaning off extra parts. Make sure the build plate's ready for the next print. And I go ahead and recess it. This is the third body I had to print. So 3 prototypes of the body before it was finally finished. Put them in the curing chamber over here, and this is a UVB curing chamber that I created. It's just something that's very simple. It's got a mirrored finish around that whole inside, so it just reflects all the light. This is a wavelength of 405 millimeters, millimeters, so whatever they are. So it actually cures it very quickly. The only problem is if you don't let all the resin come off in the ultrasonic cleaner, you'll actually mess up your model when you put it in here. So it's very important to make sure everything's cleaned off. Once that's done, all the parts have been in there for at least an hour, I got to take them out and put them on my priming station. So I went ahead and started with a really light coat, and then after that I go over it with a darker color, so that way I make sure I get every single piece. Make sure it's all even, flip them, then do it again. And once that's done, I go ahead and work on the base, make sure it's primed, and then I turned over everything to Adam. So I gave Adam the render that I had, and he went ahead and created his own color scheme. Here he is doing the underlying cloth layer. I wanted to look like an armor, but I also wanted like a jean texture, more of a cloth, because I felt like it'd make him move easier if it was a cloth rather than a chainmail. And then Adam is over here now trying to match the Berserker sword and the armor to that of Berserker, the manga. He's working on the cape and all the other colors. Also on the base, he wanted to go ahead and make it look more realistic and added some mold and fungus and stuff because he figured it was a rocky base. And rocks, have mold and fungus, especially if they're in a really, really wet region. So if you think of like Europe or somewhere like that, or Houston, Texas. Here he is doing all the wash and drying it and working on the body. You can see on the side he has all the other parts finished and they look amazing. They look even better in person. He did such a great job finishing them. The body was the last one to do because if you remember from the previous part of the video, I actually had to make a third one. So this is him working on that final body. I actually got it finished while he was painting on the other parts of the model. So it was really a nick of time type of deal, last second finish. Worked out really well. So he goes with lighter colors, and then once he gets finished with lighter colors, he goes over with the darker wash and really makes the tones come out. He does this so that it actually brings out a darker hue. I wanted this model to be very dark and very menacing, but also have really beautiful colors. And that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that this model came across as very beautiful, but also very menacing. And this is where I let Adam have free range as well. He did his own artistic approach to this model, and I couldn't be more than happy with it. He made everything stand out, made everything very dark, but also very beautiful. He worked on the mouth to make sure that everything was really popping. And then the eyes, I asked if he could do a blue flame, blue hue to them. And that's what he's doing here. He's doing a white undercoat, then he goes over it with blue so that it can actually pop with that blue color. And it looked better than I thought it would. I could not believe it when I finally saw the finished product. And it's actually really interesting because it looks like this is moving pretty quickly. Adam is a very quick painter, and he got all this done in about 8 hours. And I actually was watching while I was painting these teeth and how quick he could do it. He literally can do each tooth in about one pass. It blew my mind. So once he had that finished, I actually had him put together, and I watched him while he did this so that I could see from outside perspective how it's going to look. And I was really impressed with how well the parts fit together. When, like I said before, I made sure that all the parts were cut in a way that you wouldn't see any of the seams, especially in the legs and the arms. The only one you can really see is the bottom jaw and the cape back. So that was really important to me, make sure you can't see any seams. And we didn't even glue the cape to the body. What we did is we just placed it on the body with this little key ends. And that was so that we could remove it. So whenever I do ship this model to anybody who wants one, I can actually put it in the box without it damaging anything. And with that big heavy cape, I felt like it would damage something. So it was a lot of fun to see this model be put together for the first time. Really impressed with the sword. Everything I was really impressed with. And it's funny to say that because I designed it, but you never know how something will turn out. And when something comes out better than you expected, it's even mind-blowing for myself as the artist to see something come out so well. And it was a lot of fun to work on this project. It was even more fun to have someone such as Adam work with me and make it come to life. I could not have painted this or done such a great job as he did. He did a fabulous job. So once it was done, I wanted to do a little spin around so I could actually see everything, show it off on the camera if it was the first time put together. And you can see the cape's not even glued, but it looks really good. In later versions, when you see the turntable, I tried to put madness in it and it broke the back of the cape, so there's a little bit of a gap. But here, Adam is actually adding the blood detail. He's using Blood of the Blood God from Citadel Paints, and it's my favorite blood paint. I use it on all my models. And once he's done with that, this is the final product of all that labor. So my Berserker Wolf Knight is finally finished. This was by far the hardest project I've had to work on, mainly because I had to learn a lot of new techniques and skills that I didn't have. So it was a lot of fun, and anytime I do a project, that's what I shoot for, is learning something new. This one I have to learn a ton of new things. I couldn't thank Adam enough for painting it and doing such a great job on that. I'll link his Instagram in the bottom and the description of this video, so make sure you check out his. I would really appreciate your support. I couldn't do this if I didn't have all you guys supporting me and so many people loving my work, and that means more than anything to me. So if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't yet, go like and follow my Instagram, and then also subscribe and like this video here on YouTube. That way I can keep building this page and make more fun, cooler statues and models for you guys. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everything. And next week, whenever I get it done, Gars Harag, I can never say that, for the Monster Hunter series, the new Monster Hunter Rise game, is going to be the next monster that I do. So I'll have a full video done on that, and then we'll get him going. So look forward to that. That was actually a vote that was done on my Instagram account through all my Instagram followers. So make sure you do follow, because if you do, you get to tell me what you guys would like me to see work on next. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all your support. It's really helped me build this business. It's allowed me to provide for others, and it's a blessing to do what I love. So thank you so much, and I love you guys. Bye.